this is the secret trick to the main reason why a lot of producers, the top producers out there, have never run out of appointments. And the reason and the strategy and secret they use is called BAM-FAM. Okay, and so basically BAM-FAM is, in my opinion, one of the most important SOPs that needs to be implemented in your sales process every single time you go for an appointment, right? And basically BAM-FAM stands for book a meeting from a meeting. Okay, book a meeting from a meeting. Now, in basically advisory language, is basically saying that every time you finish an appointment, you set the next appointment. Okay, and it doesn't matter which appointment or what kind of appointment, right? So, for example, if let's say you're going for a catch-up, you go for a catch-up appointment, the next appointment that you want to go for is basically an opening appointment, right? And after you set the opening appointment, then after that you set a closing, and after closing appointment, and this is where most people drop off, is that after you set a closing appointment, you actually want to set what we call the onboarding appointment. Right? And so this is where you onboard the client. You want to make sure that you have managed and set proper expectations on how the journey and relationship is going to be like, etc. Right? And after the onboarding appointment, then you want to book like maybe a policy review appointment, a cash flow appointment, so on and so forth. Right? You always BAM-FAM and make sure that you always have the next appointment. And so, for example, let's say even if you go for the catch-up appointment, and let's say the catch-up doesn't really convert into opening at this point in time, you still want to set the next catch-up appointment, right? And so, regardless of what kind of appointments you go for, you always can set the next one. Right? It doesn't always have to be a closing. It doesn't always have to be a policy review appointment. Right? Just want to make sure there's always appointments coming forward now. And there's two reasons why we do it. Now, the first reason is that when you set the next appointment for the prospect or for the prospect or client feel like there's always some form, it feels like there's progress, right? The prospect and client always feel like, okay, there's the next step, that's the next step. And that's essentially what we are trying to do every time we try to open or try to close someone, right? We are bringing them one step closer towards a sale or one step closer towards their financial planning goal at the end of the day, right? So that's the first reason. Now, the second reason is that psychologically speaking, on your calendar, you always have the next appointment, right? Your calendar will always be fuller, and everything else. And the reason for that is because it doesn't matter whether you set the appointment 3 months now, 6 months later. Doesn't matter, right? Because as long as the appointment is there on your calendar and there's already a tentative agreement or mutually agreed that, hey, this is when we're going to meet, what happens here is that as the date gets nearer, all you need to do is to confirm that the appointment is going to happen, right? And it's a lot easier to do a confirmation than to text someone from scratch and try to set the appointment again.